Welcome aboard to a very special episode of the J.R. Heft Show. This is episode 32, and I was incredibly honored this week to moderate the only Republican primary debate in the 4th Congressional District in Hampton Roads this week. Joining me at the debate hosted by the Republican Party of Chesapeake were Shion Fenty and Ryan McAdams. I interviewed Shion in the next podcast and have already interviewed Ryan, so the focus of this debate was solely on the issues that we can expect them to have some sort of influence on in Congress, as well as how they feel about the incumbent, Don McEachin. It was an excellent and frank discussion, and I know you're going to enjoy it. If you are listening or watching this podcast on the web, know that you can subscribe to the show through the TuneIn, Google Play, iTunes, and Stitcher apps. All you have to do is download the app to your smartphone, tablet, or computer, search for the J.R. Heft Show, and subscribe. The shows will then be delivered to you directly to your device as they're produced. Also, I always welcome your feedback and show suggestions. Please email me at jrheft@jrheft.com. And also, thank you very much for your support for the show by sharing, commenting, rating and reviewing, and subscribing. That is super fantastic, and thank you very much for that support. All right, let's get underway with the Republican 4th Congressional District debate from Chesapeake, Virginia, between Shion Fenty and Ryan McAdams. All right, well, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. Reaction is fine. You know what a demonstration is, so don't do it. All right, that's number one. Number two is that I'm going to try to stick to topic areas and address each candidate to have a question in that given topic area. They'll have 90 seconds to respond to the question. The follow-up will be 60 seconds for the person responding. If there is one question per an issue, each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond to that particular question. And I'll make that very clear when we come to that subject area. I have interviewed Ryan already. Shion is on my agenda for next week. Those type of long-form, in-depth conversations about their backgrounds, why they're running, the get-to-know-you kind of things, listen to the podcast, okay? This is a debate.
Very good. Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to stick to issues where we would expect them to have some sort of influence as a congressperson, as our next congressperson from the 4th District. So that will be the nature of our conversation. With that, who would like to go first with your opening statement?
You want to go first?
Sure, no problem. Do I use a microphone or just speak out loud? Because I'm kind of loud. I can do that.
What did you have in mind?
What would you prefer?
Nicholas?
Yeah?
Okay.
This is good? All right. Ooh, there we go. Hello, everyone. How are you guys tonight? Thank you all for coming out here today. And thank you so much, there you go, Smith, for hosting us. This is amazing. It was wonderful to travel literally from one end of the district all the way to get here through the rain, through the tunnels. And I'm just like, wow, this is going to be my life. I love it. It's so amazing. So my name is Shion Fenty, and my parents are from Guyana, South America. And when they immigrated here, I was born 2 months later in Brooklyn, New York. And so like you heard in the bio, my parents got divorced. We moved to Virginia, and it was a whole different world. New York and our little Guyana, and there was one thing, but then coming to Virginia, which is the country in comparison to the city, was very, very different. So being here and living in the district all my life, it was amazing to see the complexity of the people that were in the district. And learning how to adapt to people, learning how to understand people's different perspectives and point of views. And I was realizing that a lot of people did not have a conservative background. For us, it was natural. It was something that I was born into. And what is being a conservative? A lot of people ask me, well, what does that even mean? To me, being a conservative is being able to live the life that you were designed to live with very minimal government influence. You have to have the freedom to live the life that you want to live. And for my parents immigrating to this country, that was just ingrained in us. It's not like we had to choose to be a conservative. It is who we are. It is what we were born to be. So it has been an amazing journey watching my parents immigrate here, watching the process that they had to go through, living in the district, starting a business, making new friends, and now running in this campaign and seeing that everything that I am seems to be really, really perfect for this season. And unfortunately, we're in a season of identity politics where people just look at you and say, I'm going to vote for you because you look like me. That's really unfortunate, but that's just where we are right now. And so it has been amazing crossing over lines, speaking and winning over votes from liberals and Democrats that can identify with where I've come from. We grew up on public assistance. When my mother was a single mother of 7 kids, and being a single woman, African American, I'm able to identify in the areas where Republicans have traditionally lost over the years. So it has been a wonderful, wonderful experience meeting the people in the district, reaching out to them, hearing their stories, and realizing that half of their stories are just like mine. So it has been amazing to have this opportunity to run in this race and to make a difference. Thank you guys for being here tonight. I appreciate your time.
This is a little awkward.
Yeah, sorry about that. This is for our Facebook audience and
That's
for
great.
the recording that'll be posted
I'm just kidding.
afterwards.
My name is Ryan McAdams. Great to be with you here tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you for a few minutes. My wife Jade is here. I've been married for almost 20 years. I have a family, 4 children. They're not here tonight. That might be another awkward moment. But thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. I appreciate you being here. I think it's really important that you understand who you're voting for. One of the things that's really important to me, I think, is a principle, is that I think you can understand somebody by their accomplishments in the past, by what they're going to do in the future. And so I know already in the biography some of that was said, but I want you to know a little bit about me. Out of high school, I earned a baseball scholarship to Virginia Military Institute. I attended there. I was a Virginia State Player of the Year in 1989. Ended up transferring to VCU, and I earned my Bachelor of Science there with honors, summa cum laude. Then at that point, God had called me into ministry. And I went to Gordon Conwell. I earned a Master of Divinity there, and I started into ministry in 1997 in Williamsburg. I've been in ministry for about 20 years, over 20 years. I've been a pastor, but in addition to that, I've been a small businessman. I've been a social worker. I've been a youth and family service coordinator. I worked with at-risk youth and families and working in the public school. I've also coached JV baseball, and I've been on the board of the Salvation Army. I've been intimately involved in the community my whole adult life, serving and helping to bring real and practical solutions to people's lives. And that's what I'll do when I go to Congress. I have never had ambitions for politics. Bill had just asked me from the Virginia Pilot, what caused you to go into politics? Well, I'll tell you, in December of 2015, God gave me a dream. And in that dream, God spoke to me very clearly. And he said, Ryan, you're not just called to serve people, you're called to serve the nation. And you need to run for elected office. And I woke up about 4:30 that morning, and that was the shock of my life. And I went to my wife, and when she woke up, I always tell this story because it's kind of funny, bring a little levity into the conversation. And I asked her, I told her about the dream, and she said, no way, that doesn't sound like a God dream, that sounds like a nightmare. But, you know, it's been interesting over the last 2 years, 2.5 years, God has been unfolding a journey in my life, and that's led me to this moment tonight. And a part of that journey was the honor to serve as the Virginia Prayer Caucus State Director, to have the honor to work with Congressman Randy Forbes and Shirley Forbes. And Shirley here tonight, I just want to honor her. I don't think she's here tonight, but I appreciate her support. She's endorsed me in this election, and also Rick West here, Mayor Rick West. I appreciate their support. But it's such an honor to be the State Director for the Virginia Prayer Caucus, working with legislators in Richmond, delegates and state senators like John Cosgrove, Delegate Brendan Pokey, who's also endorsing me, fighting for religious freedom and for our Judeo-Christian heritage, keeping faith alive in America. How many of us know that we need that today? So that was a great honor to do that. And I believe that God's called me, He's prepared me for this time to serve the people of the 4th District, to serve you, and to serve all those, the diverse population that we have here in the 4th District, and to be one that will, like Randy Forbes. I believe that, we had a good congressman, amen, in Randy Forbes, and no one can ever replace him. But I believe that I will be another righteous leader that you can trust and have faith in to do the right thing in Washington. And so thank you for this opportunity to be here tonight.
So for the rest of the debate, if you want to stand for your closing statements, that would be fine. But we like to keep it a little casual here in Chesapeake. So we'll just have a nice family-style discussion here at the table. And I think the question, obviously, that would be on everybody's mind right from the word get-go. And we'll stick with you, Ryan, since Shion went first with the opening statement, is why do you want to fire Don McEachin?
That's a complicated question. I mean, everyone knows about what happened probably here in Chesapeake with redistricting. And I told you about that dream that I had. 10 days later is when I found out about the redistricting. And many people believe that that was a hit job by the Justice Department to take out Randy Forbes and put Don McEachin in to redistrict it, talk about gerrymandering. And I go all around the district talking with people, talking with Democrats and Republicans. And all of them say that they feel like Donald McEachin is not engaged. They feel like they don't have representation here in the 4th District. I talked to a farmer, a Democratic farmer, who told me, I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat, we need representation in the 4th District. And so that's what I hear. He's not doing what a representative does, and that is to listen and to be intimately involved in the community. He doesn't live in the district. I'm the only candidate in this race that actually lives in the 4th District. We know what actually representation outside of the district has gotten us. We need a representative that lives in the district, that's going to be a person of the people, that's going to listen to your concerns, and it's going to take those to Washington and get things done. So I believe that he's vulnerable. A lot of people believe that this district cannot be won. I believe he's vulnerable because what I see on the ground and what I'm hearing from the people, and they say they want to change. And I believe I'm the type of leader, I'm a grassroots, I'm in the trenches, and I've been in the grassroots my whole life in my ministry and my service to the community. I believe I'm the one that can bring that type of leadership back to the 4th.
Thanks, Ryan.
Great. You want us to stay seated, right?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm like wanting to pop up here. So like I tell everyone as I'm running this race, I'm not fighting against someone, I'm fighting for something. And what I do not believe that the incumbent is fighting for anyone, when I see people that are impoverished year after year after year, and not only they are impoverished, now it's their children. And now it's becoming generational. And I hear people say, we keep voting for Democrats thinking they're going to represent us or do something, and we keep coming away with nothing. So the more that I look through this district and looking at his track record, he's been in office for such a long time. And also he has ties with lawyers. So when I look at the recidivism rate, I keep questioning, what have you done with that? Why has it gotten worse? You're a lawyer, you have ties with people that could do something about it. Why hasn't anything changed? And when I also look at the kids in their communities, the drugs, the single motherhood, what's going on? What's going on, especially in a district that is now more Democratic than ever? If you vote in a Democrat, you expect. Does that mean I'm done?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It goes quick.
Oh, it does.
But you're going to have a follow-up here in 2 seconds.
Wonderful.
Would you like to add anything?
Add anything? Sure.
Man, that is fast.
We're going to have to get used to this.
So we get to the really fun question.
About the same question.
Yes.
Okay. Again, I just think that what we need in this district is someone that's diverse. I've lived at VCU in the inner city. I currently live in a rural area in Providence Forge. I've lived in the suburbs. I've been all around the district, and I believe I live in an area where I can appeal to farmers. I have a real heart for veterans. That's another thing that I hear. I feel like veterans are hurting in the district. I talk to veterans all the time, and they say,
And we have a whole section. We have a whole section on that coming up.
oh, okay.
All right. Good to go.
Man.
It's hard to see. I'm sorry if I'm not responding to you, because it's hard to see the signs over there.
The beauty is that this is a congressional debate, not a presidential one. So maybe a little more laid back here. So
we'll get used to it.
On this subject of your experience and Don McEachin, neither of you have held public office.
Right.
And so this question was posited by Stephen Orr. We obviously see that the president had no elected office, and he seems to be doing just fine. So let's ask this question. How do your life experiences make you the better candidate than Don McEachin?
Absolutely. Okay, and go. All right. So, whenever I look at a district, I look at the places that are thriving and I look at the places that are failing. And the places that are failing are some of the most detrimental to our entire community. When we have poor education, people that can't get jobs, and people that are trying to have opportunities, they can't find them, we have to make a change. And I've grown up through all of those issues in my life. So learning with my family, being on public assistance, having our own businesses, being able to thrive in the communities that we're in, that is what is most important right now. And so I always say that I might be new to politics, but I am not new to people, and I am not new to ministry. My parents were pastors. We lived in the district for 20 some years, and so we know this district back and forth. My cousins are military people right here in Chesapeake. And being all the way through this district and having those touch points here, it is so important to not only be connected to the district that you are in, but also have life experiences that you can speak to the people, that they know, okay, she's being real. She knows exactly what's going on with my life. I can relate to her.
Thank you.
Good.
Number one, with Donald McEachin, I think most of us as Americans were sick of elite politicians who are after themselves and to serve the special interest groups up in Washington. And so we see where elite politicians who have developed their whole career to be a politician, and really what all they're about is staying in office. I don't think we need more of that. We don't need more lawyers that are about themselves. Secondly, as far as this race, and the difference between myself and Shion, I think there's a big difference in life experience. I don't mean to be petty or anything, I just want to state the facts. I'm 46 years old. I've been married almost 20 years. I have 4 children. I've bought and sold houses. I've owned businesses, a successful business. I've served in various capacities of leadership. As a pastor, like I said, as the state director of the Virginia Prayer Caucus. I think that we need the right, as President Trump said, we need the right type of leadership in Washington. We don't need the wrong type of leadership in Washington. And I believe that through my life experiences and my service, my heart to serve the people, and my life experiences, that I believe that I'm the one with the life experiences that's qualified in this race.
Yes, Ryan.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for not being petty. I appreciate that. So as we've said before, over and over again, our district has changed. We're 48% now people of color. And that's a big deal. We were not here before. Since the district has changed, we have a brand new set of people with a brand new set of ideas and a way of doing things. And it is a challenge not only to cross those boundaries in the district where we were 2.5 years ago, it is going to be even more tough now to break through those barriers. So being everything that I am, and let's not overlook this thing. Millennials are voting at a huge rate right now. Being a millennial, I can speak to them. Being an African American, I can speak to those people as well too. Being a woman, I can speak to many of the voters that are in here as well too. So life expected, as long as you have lived, it is in my mind and in my heart. Gotcha. It is wonderful to have all of those things that you're able to do. But there's a time and a season, and that time is now for very different representation that can actually go toe to toe with McEachin and win this.
Sure thing. Thank you, Shion.
Thank you. I'm so sorry.
So, surprise, surprise, podcaster likes to listen to podcasts. And I also enjoy listening to the things that probably you as conservative Republicans are like, Jim, why do you listen to that? But I do anyway. There's a really good podcast that comes out of Hollywood that I enjoy just listening to what the actors have to say. And I was listening to one of the actors who's of foreign-born, and he was talking about his kids. And his kid, about 12 years old, after President Trump was elected, came up to him and said, "Hey, Dad, are they going to try to deport us? Are they going to try to deport me? So my question, and we'll start with you, Ryan, is what is the Republican message on immigration to all people?
Well, I think it's obviously, immigration is a very complicated issue. And the reason why it's complicated to me is because politicians have not had the will to do the right thing for Americans. And so as one running for Congress, my commitment as a representative in the House of Representatives is to represent the American people. And so I think that as a representative, my compassion needs to be directed towards Americans. And I think today the narrative gets mixed up that somehow, that if we are for standing for the rule of law, and if we are standing for doing things the right way as far as our immigration policy, that somehow that's uncompassionate. And I reject that. I think that right now, and I think that that's why what resonates with most of the American people, why Trump was elected. And I agree with his stance that we need to put Americans first. And you know what? That's why you're electing me, to represent you, not to represent illegals. Now, I think that we do need to have a compassionate way of dealing with the issue. But I want to state clearly, I'm not for amnesty. Because I believe that we need to reaffirm in this country the rule of law. You know what it seems like to me? It seems like the only ones that are left off the hook are illegals and elite bureaucrats and politicians. And that needs to change. And it's not a wonder that those two are working together to support themselves in this time.
Thanks, Ryan. Sean?
Thank you. So I believe that our message to immigrants, correct, about this issue is that number one, we will protect our country and our borders. Number two, we will not be hypocrites. And number three, we will enforce the rule of law and we will not use people for a vote. There are so many times when immigrants come in this country when the law is not enforced and people do not come back to say, okay, this is where I was, this is what's going on. That's how they become illegal. And this whole nonsense with catch and release at the border, what is that? We are creating illegal people here every single day. Why? Why is that happening? Because they are using people for their vote. That is the only reason why. And also businesses that are hiring illegal people, I'm sorry, whatever happened to E-Verify? We're going to sit here and say, oh, we're going to kick people out of the country, but we will do nothing to the businesses that are hiring them? Absolutely not. We will not be hypocrites in this country. We will enforce the rule of law. We will protect our boundaries, and we will protect the people that are in this country. And they're going to have to do it the right way.
Thank you, Sean. So let's talk then about sanctuary cities. Beth Banks came up with this question for us. What action do you think that the federal government should take regarding sanctuary cities? And her follow-up question is, what do you consider to be a fair approach regarding amnesty for illegals or deferred action for childhood arrivals, dreamers, that sort of thing?
Great. So sanctuary cities I have a very big problem with. I don't believe that there should be a place where you can commit a crime and then come to it and you're safe and that's it. If you commit a crime, you've got to be penalized for it. Simple as that. I just have a big issue, and especially I'm hearing in other states where like the mayors or the governors are alerting people that the ICE is coming. That's not the way this is supposed to work. That's not the way it's supposed to work at all. So it's one thing with having a place of safety, but it's another thing when you're being tipped off and the laws are just being broken everywhere. That's not the way that it's supposed to be. And we're talking about the dreamers. Is that what you said as well too? Yeah. So a lot of these dreamers that are older, that have aged now, they are very intricate to a lot of business that they are working in. And to me, I am not going to vote to send people back if they are contributing to this country. If we believe that they have merit here, then they have to get to the very beginning of the line to work their way up. My mother has been an immigrant in this country for years, a legal resident, and it has still been so tough for her to have her citizenship. I will never put anyone else in front of my mother. For 37 years, she's been trying to get her citizenship and doing it the right way, paying the legal costs, taking time off to raise her kids. There's no way they're going to get to the front of the line. They've got to do it just like everyone else if we deem that that their skills are necessary in our country.
Let's be clear, though, that if we are not willing to vote for illegal immigrants to go back, then that is some form of amnesty or some process of giving citizenship to illegal aliens. I'm not for that. As far as again, DACA, even President Obama, before he changed his mind on it, said that it was an illegal action. It was unlawful, and it was unconstitutional. And so now we're seeing the fallout from that bad decision. And you know what? 10 years ago, even the Democrats and the liberals were on the side of standing firm for illegal immigration. What's changed? It's the political dynamic. They think that the votes that they can get, the progressives can get, is worth the gamble to be for amnesty, for illegal immigration. And I'm appalled at Republicans who will not stand firm on this because it's not good for the American people.
Cheyenne, do you have a...
Go ahead.
You're good? Okay. All right, so let's talk about the really, really big elephant in the room. I think there are a lot of unhappy Republicans in this room today based upon the actions of Republicans in Richmond. We have voted to expand Medicaid here in the Commonwealth, and if you were to take a peek at the Republican creed, it does say fiscal responsibility at all levels of government.
That's right.
And so, taking a step back, we heard a briefing from former Pennsylvania Senator and presidential candidate Rick Santorum today at the Capitol as well, regarding actions that are being posited at the federal level regarding repealing the healthcare law. And so, hypothetically speaking, that can't happen, okay? We know that both of you would like to see the repeal of Obamacare, and I'm pretty comfortable that that's true. What in the Affordable Care Act, if you had to nibble away at it, what's the first thing that you go after?
Well, I think it needs to be repealed. Let me just say, too, that Medicaid expansion in Virginia is going to be a disaster for our state. And I'm friends with Senator Amanda Chase, who knows a lot about this issue, and she's been standing firm on this issue. The costs are going to go up, and eventually it's going to probably mean higher taxes for Virginians. As far as Obamacare, I think that one of the things that we need to do to pick away at it is in the process that's happening now is we need to open ourselves up to more free market principles. So being able to go across state lines, being able to have competitions amongst insurers so that the costs can go down. And in some states, there might be one insurer in some of the states in the union right now, and the costs are going through the roof. So we have to be able to increase the competition between insurers so that those costs can come down, and so that the competition can go forth, and so we can get more insurers into the game so that we can begin to get affordable healthcare and accessible healthcare again. So that's one thing that I think really needs to be a focus.
And Beth, this is one of those single issue questions, so she has 90 seconds.
Oh, cool, great. I agree with that, absolutely. Competition creates a better environment for everyone. We must have that. And why this whole Medicare expansion, why it scares me, and I was explaining to a friend the other day, he was like, well, we should have this because we're entitled. I said, no, you're not entitled to all of that, because here's the thing. In the event of another government shutdown, what do you think is going to happen to all of those benefits? What do you think is going to happen to the people that are due for surgeries or they need something done? You get nothing until everything resumes itself. And I was encouraging him, you've got to get supplemental insurance for yourself as well, too. How about private savings accounts? Take a little bit of initiative and responsibility over your own health care and your life as well, too. It's good to have a little fallback. That's fine. It should be temporary. But this whole thing, if the bottom goes out, then what happens to all these people that are on this assistance? It's not a safety net. I don't believe that's the safest way to insure people. There has to be competition, and people also have to be allowed to have a good health savings accounts.
Great.
Can I add it?
Yes, you can. Sure.
Okay. One of the things that a lot of Virginians, this is going to the Medicaid expansion issue in the state, that a lot of Virginians don't know is that, it's sold to Virginians like it's somehow going to increase the amount of people that are going to get affordable health care or they're going to get health care. Number one, it's not necessarily going to increase the quality of health care, because in all the states where Medicaid expansion has happened, actually the quality and accessibility has gone down. to those that actually really need it. The other thing that most people don't know is all that money is not necessarily going for health care. It's going to increase the pay of teachers and many other things. I'm sorry, my time's up. But there's many misconceptions about this. In the end, it's going to hurt us.
Yeah. We're going to talk about entitlements a little bit later on down the road, and I would never want to leave that out of a congressional debate. But let's talk a little bit about where we are in terms of media and folks getting on social media. The Cambridge Analytical thing. Folks, this is not fake news. This is real. So that's good. Yet there are a lot of concerns about privacy, about bots, about Russian hacking into elections, and all that sort of thing. And there's also concerns about intelligence surveillance and ensuring that we cut off ISIS before they have an opportunity to do something to us. And so I guess the question, there's one that recently happened just over this past weekend, where I hope everyone here has had the opportunity to do this, but the FBI told everyone in America pretty much that if you have a router, you needed to reboot it this weekend because Russians had developed a virus that had the opportunity to basically destroy your router. And so I guess my question as we start getting down to the question of defense here in Hampton Roads is what constitutes a cyber attack? What constitutes an act of war on the United States that you would consider as a congressperson? Shion?
Thank you. An act of war is anything that comes against our personal safety, whether it's Russia or whether it's even our own government spying on us and looking into our homes, looking into our businesses, seeing what it is that we're doing. That is not in the Constitution, and there is no liberty in that. I'm glad that you shared that with everyone to research your routers, because that's a very dangerous place to be. And especially when the government has the ability to begin to protect us, my question is, why are we not doing more? Why are people still having to reset routers and do all these things? Why not nip it in the bud where it belongs? And so to me, when it comes to our safety, we have to be exceptionally careful. But at the end of the day, so growing up, as a millennial, everything is social media. We put our pictures out there, our information out there, everything is out there. And we are not conscious or aware that that stuff, once it's out there, it's out there. Everyone has access to it. And so now with the Cambridge Analytica, a lot of my friends and everyone's becoming more careful with what it is they do put out there. But it's time to really begin to be aware and understand that our privacy, our safety, we have got to stand up for that and make sure that our government knows that, make sure that other countries know that, and we've got to put stopgaps in place to make sure that our own private lives are safe.
Beth, we'll go with 90 seconds on this as well.
As far as foreign threats, it's a big issue. We all know that. The president is considering putting an alarm with space assets, and I believe incorporating that in with the cybersecurity. So we need to look, very closely at this. It's a big national security issue. What really gets me, though, is what our own country is doing. And I think that our own government needs to be held accountable for what has been going on, particularly in the last election with President Trump. And with our FBI and our intelligence agencies, the evidence, more and more evidence is coming out every day that they were spying on a presidential candidate. This is much bigger than Watergate. And our government needs to be held accountable. And so if I can get on the intelligence or the government accountability committee, I want to hold our government accountable for what they're doing to the American people, because the Constitution does say in the Bill of Rights that we have the right to have our property secure, our papers, and I believe that includes the internet. I believe that includes obviously spying and what went on in Trump Tower and what went on, it looks like, informant within the Trump campaign. This is egregious stuff. And as the American people, we need to stand up right now, and we need to have a strong voice for liberty and freedom, because if we lose these things, if we allow them to get away with it, then who's to say what's coming next?
So we were attacked on 9/11, 2001, And, correct me if I'm wrong, folks, but I do believe we have yet to have a declaration of war on anybody, even with wars ongoing in Afghanistan and Iraq. We now have forces in Syria. We had a joint operation with NATO for Libya. And so I guess my question is, what constitutes an act of war, again, against the United States? When does Congress get involved with declaring war? And is it time to reform the War Powers Act?
Great question. I mean, I feel strongly about this. I think that the House of Representatives, there's a reason why they were in Article 1 of the Constitution. That the House of the people, Congress, was supposed to be given most of the power because it's closest to the people. And Congress has given away that power to the executive branch. That needs to change, because we are in a situation right now where you have defense contractors and you have the neocons that are actively wanting to go to war all over the Middle East, and of course Obama and what we saw in Libya and different places like that. We need a strong military. I'm all for a strong military. But we need to be judicious with that military. And those acts of war need to be affirmed in the Constitution by Congress. And there needs to be those checks and balances. We need to reaffirm the powers of the House. And they've pretty much given it away. And so how that happens, I think number one, we need to a lot of times what seems to happen is they just give the green light to the president. And that can happen. There needs to be open debate on the House floor over issues. If there's a situation that comes up and we need to respond, then the president has obviously the authority to do that. But something protracted, something when we're sending our troops in a protracted situation, then that needs to go before the House floor and the Senate floor to be debated in the House of the people.
Thanks. So in light of your question, this is sarcastic. It seems as if nothing is declared an act of war, since they're using executive orders to declare war whenever they want to. And I agree, that is something that belongs to the House. We've got to be able to decide what the country needs, and also not just decide, but be able to make a decision quickly. We're seeing that Congress is taking 1,000 years to make a decision. When we're in 9/11, when planes are going into the towers, what is going on here? Why would it have taken so long to make a decision that the president felt, let's just declare war right now? I can understand that gut reaction to do so, but that is not Constitution. That is not the way that it's supposed to be. And I believe that the House, so we have got to step up and say, you know what? We've given you that authority and that power for such a long time. It's ours now. We're going to be efficient. We're going to be effective. We're going to assess the danger quickly and make a decision. But they also have to get proper and clear intel as well, too. There was so many different information coming in from different places that I felt like there was a little bit of confusion. A plane is here, a plane is there, what's going on? We're supposed to be the strongest military force in the world. Why was there so many lapses in the intel they were getting? It's time for the House to take their authority back.
Thanks.
Can I follow up?
Yes, please.
War is very, very costly. And more than even the financial cost is the human toll. And we look at what happened with all of these conflicts that we've engaged in all around the world. And there's 300,000 veterans right now that are either back or coming back from the foreign shores because of interventionist activities and wars, or whatever you want to call them, conflicts, that maybe all of them we should not be part of. Libya definitely is. And so we need to be very judicious with our military power, I believe.
So this is somewhat of a defense-related question, but it's also a budget-related question. Hampton Roads, obviously different from Richmond, yet you'll be representing both, has the largest concentration of military forces in the United States. Most people do commute to work. Okay, so folks who live in Chesapeake drive to Norfolk Naval Station. Folks that live elsewhere, will commute over to Langley. Both of those bases have a heck of a time when it comes to coastal flooding and that sort of thing. So my question is, if you are in a situation where the budget comes up and you have to make a decision as to whether or not this area receives defense spending or something you believe strongly in, hypothetically speaking, an amendment defunding Planned Parenthood gets in the way, will you vote for the continuing resolution that funds Planned Parenthood and also, ensures that government employees go to work? I think the shy person. Yeah.
My goodness. Man, I sure wish when it comes to these budgets that we can just like line item pull things out here. It is defunding Planned Parenthood needs to happen with the quickness. That should have never had any kind of funding, in my opinion, at all. But when it comes to our military, I'm going to have to stick with the military every single time. These are the people in our district, and they need what they need. And the further thing is, too, we have got to begin to have our budgets. Our budgets have to be very clean budgets, and they have to be balanced. Because with a continuing resolution, there's so much waste that happens in the military that if we had a balanced budget, we also wouldn't have the different issues that we have now. But when it comes to Planned Parenthood, that thing needs to be gone quickly because our military and the people in this district, they need proper access to whatever, when they have to travel back and forth. They come first.
I had some time to think about that. That was good. Well, we don't have to have a hypothetical because we just had an omnibus, which that issue was in that, as far as funding Planned Parenthood and funding the military. And so I can tell you I wouldn't have voted for that. Because I think as having the president, a Republican as the president, having Republican Senate, having a Republican House, we could have done a heck of a lot better than what we got out of that omnibus bill. Including, we could have negotiated for Planned Parenthood to be defunded. And so I would have not have voted for that. I think there should have been a lot of more pressure by Republicans put on the Democrats. You know, I read a quote by Chuck Schumer, Senator Schumer, that angered me about the Republicans. Because he said, you know what, I like being in the minority because I'm getting a heck of a lot more done now as the minority party than I ever did as the majority. Now, why is that happening? I mean, I don't know what they're doing up there, but I wouldn't have voted for that. And if I was in the negotiations as House Speaker Ryan and McCarthy, I would have been negotiating strongly for the things that are in line with fiscal responsibility and conservatism.
We're going to get into that. Sean?
That's good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So that's the danger of looking down at your notes and looking at not reading the question verbatim. The whole coastal flooding thing is actually what's coming out now. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's a climate change question. Okay. Coastal flooding is happening. And the question is, what is your view on climate change? All right. So you don't necessarily have to answer the question that... I don't want to put words in your mouth for you. But the question is, with coastal flooding happening, what is your approach to protecting the bases?
Is it my turn?
Yep.
Yeah. So, number one, just a principle statement. Climate is always changing. I think that, we've gotten so far down the road in climate change that we don't even know what we're talking about anymore, really. But as far as protecting the bases, I don't know the specifics of what needs to be done. I think that obviously the military do. We need to protect our bases. This is the most powerful and biggest base in the world. And we need to protect our assets. And I know that needs to happen. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I have the great plan of how to save the naval base from coastal flooding. But I'm in support of saving the base. I'm in support of doing what's in the best interest of Chesapeake, what's doing the best interest of all of Hampton Roads. And so we need to look at that clearly. And so I don't mean to be a cop-out. That's not something that I have specifically information on.
Yeah. Definitely. And it's interesting because like a lot of my peers were always talking about climate change. Oh my goodness, this is happening. And I think about, well, of course there's cars, there's carbon emissions. If you have the greenhouse effect going on, weather is changing. This is a natural thing. But again, definitely making sure that the proper spending is there so that they can build up the defenses around the bases that are necessary. And in my mind, this is not it's not a hard situation. If we are funding our government, if we're funding our military correctly, they are going to be able to engineer and re-engineer or reverse engineer things that they need to protect their bases. We have to empower our military. We have to empower people to be able to make the right decisions for the bases and for our country. All of this micromanaging and these little things that we're doing with the continuing resolutions is actually crippling our military in different areas. So we have to empower them to make the changes and create the safety measures that they need to.
Okay, now we'll have some fun. Y'all have the power of the purse, so let's get right into it. What do you think of continuing resolutions, and what will be your approach to regular order? And I believe I asked you first last time, so let's go to Shion first.
Yeah, thank you. I just believe in a balanced budget. Being in college and having a whole bunch of college spending, it has been the toughest thing, staying on a budget to get these things paid off. And if we, the American people, have to live on a budget, why doesn't Congress? Why doesn't our government? We've got to be able to keep things balanced and to keep things in line with what is necessary for the current climate in our country. These continuing resolutions, they hurt people. They shut down benefits. They shut down progress on everything that's happening. And why is that? Why is that? They're there for a purpose, which is to the power of the purse, which is to budget correctly, have it balanced, and to run the country the way that we're supposed to.
This is something I'm pretty passionate about, I think. This is another case where government has gone off the rails. We are not following the Constitution. You know, there's 12 budgetary committees that are given to deal with the budget. And what we have is the elite. We have the Speaker, we have the Schumers, we have the McCarthy, we have these ones that have hijacked the constitutional system of budgetary vehicles. And so we need to restore what the Constitution says. You know, there's a reason why they wanted it in those 12 budgetary committees, because in those committees you have 30, 40, however many congressmen. You have the representatives of the people there to be able to debate what goes in the budget. And so what they've done is they've hijacked that system so then they can get and do their backroom deals. They can go back and they can shove all the stuff that they want and the special interests want, and then they use it as leverage against us with the continuing resolution. They create the drama and the crisis so then they can ramrod all this big pork barrel stuff. And it needs to stop. It needs to stop. And the Freedom Caucus is trying to fight for that, to stop it. And I'm for that.
Okay. So, 21 trillion is our national debt at this moment in time. I think, let's see, we had the administration proposing $15 billion in spending rescissions. The omnibus budget, as we talked about before, spending caps gone. $1 trillion of deficits in times to come. This is from your Republican Congress. Mm-hmm. So, what would you do as a freshman Republican legislator in Congress to try to turn this? It's not even an aircraft carrier at this point. How do you turn this bad boy around?
Oh my goodness.
Is it my turn?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we need more good people in Congress, number one. And I think that's why it's important here that we get out and vote, because we need to move away from any of those congressmen that are voting for these type of things, these omnibuses, especially Republicans. And so I believe that we need to have fiscal, responsible, limited government Republicans in office. There's some in there, right? There's the Freedom Caucus and others. And so I'm one of them. I'm someone that believes that we need to balance our budgets, but we also need to cut our spending. And that's not what we're not doing that, as you just said. And so there needs to be aggressive spending cuts, and it goes back again to the committees. It's a whole thing, a whole basket of things that need to change. But even though I'm a pastor, you might not know this about me, but I'm not a conformist. I'm a fighter. And I'm not someone who's just going to go along with the Republican gang up there. I'm someone that's going to fight for you, going to fight for the Republican creed, that as Republicans, we say that we stand for fiscal responsibility. We say that we stand for limited government. But then when people get in office, they get swampified, right? Well, I can tell you I'm a person of conviction. I know who I am. And I'm going up there to fight for you and the American people because, you know what, I'm not an elected official. I'm not an elite politician. I'm like you. I care about this country, and I'm upset about what's going on. And that's why I'm going up there, to let your voice be heard.
Yeah. So when we look at our national debt, we got to bring it down to smaller pieces. That's a whole lot of zeros, a whole lot of numbers there. What do we do in our own homes whenever we see that our spending is out of whack? Don't we do an audit of every area in our lives? Don't we begin to look at what's going on, our own habits, our tendencies to spend where we shouldn't spend? The government needs to do the same. There have been audits almost through the entire government, but no one is taking action on them. There are duplications in different departments that should not be. No one is getting rid of them. We have to go up there and treat this massive debt as if we're looking at our own lives and our own finances. If we are going to begin to cut away things, so does the government. And we have to stand up and we have to simply say, this is too much. We can't have this. Next, but then this is going to happen. That's going to happen. Well, let it happen. If it happens for us every single day, since when does the government get to do whatever they want? The blessing of having someone who's never run for office before is that my mindset is not about, let's keep the government big. No, it's about bringing the government back to serving the people the way they should have been doing from the very beginning.
I was about to say, my spidey sense is telling me we're starting to get towards the end here. My keen sense of navigator time. So let's get into this Congress thing regarding what committee assignments you would like to be in, what caucus you would like to belong to as well, and specific legislative priorities that you have. And instead of we'll keep it to 90 seconds, but those are a bunch of questions, so we'll just kind of go back and forth for a couple of rounds. Let's start first with caucuses and committees. What would you like to belong to?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Again, I mentioned the Freedom Caucus. I think I would be in that form. I would be in that group as far as caucus, Congressional Prayer Caucus, clearly. There's another caucus I'm interested in. I was actually at the first public meeting for it, and it's the Israel Victory Caucus. And it's a caucus that was recently started last year that supports Israel and their right to their own sovereignty, to move away from a two-state solution. And I was invited to it. And I would be interested in that. I need to find out more about that caucus. But those are three caucuses that I think I would be a part of. Committees. Mm-hmm. I think that government reform, that was one that I think I'd like to be on. Intelligence is another one, because I do believe that we need to do a lot as far as protecting our privacy. I agree with a lot of what Senator Paul says about our privacy issues. And so I'd like to join in that fight. So those are two that would be on the top of the list for me, I think.
John.
Great, thank you.
Ken, 90 seconds, please.
Okay, awesome. So I think I'm going to jump right into the second half of that question. And my first thing would just be term limits. I feel like we're in these offices for way too long. We're becoming way too detached from the communities that we've come from. And to be able to enact that would be an amazing thing. Of course, we know that's a whole constitutional thing there, but I think that that's really important to begin to make sure that people understand that your time in office, you must be connected to the people that you are in. And of course, the Freedom Caucus, which is just amazing. After reading up and knowing some of the people that are in there, these people are wild. Like, they are wild. They want to go after what is right. I don't always agree with everything they do, or that they don't vote on different things, but I love their heart behind it. They want to make sure that we're sticking to the Constitution. They want to make sure that there's freedom for everyone. And also, to my passion, again, is for businesses, is in the economy, looking at the taxes, making sure people are able to have the lives they're willing to get. So anywhere that I can serve that is going to enact people to be able to have more money in their pockets so they can live, I'm going to be all for the people. Whatever is directly connected to helping our district, that's where I want to be.
Can I add one more?
Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
It would be military. Obviously, I think that being in this area, I know Randy obviously was a big advocate for that. I'm a big advocate for the military, and I'm also a huge advocate for veterans. And again, I think that there's a lot that can be done for veterans that we're not doing. And so those would be another area that I'd really like to work on here for the 4th District.
Okay. Now, I give you about 30 to 45 seconds, but what would be like the primary legislative priority that you would take to Congress? What would you really, really hope to pass while you're in Congress? And Cheyenne, we'll go with you first.
My goodness, I feel like I've said that twice, which is definitely term limits. And the reason why I'm really passionate about that is because the one thing that I've realized over the years, when I started helping out Senator Amanda Chase with the different elections that she was doing, the one thing that I kept hearing from way back in the day to right now is, where is our representation? Who is there for us? And there's a lot of things that we can enact, a lot of things that we can do. And passing laws and creating laws are very, very important. But the one thing that I've heard over and over and over again is, are we represented? Do they hear us? My passion, yes, we're going to pass laws. We're going to do what we're supposed to do up there. But my passion is making sure that we're closely connected to the people. Because if we're passing laws and things that we think are great, because if you're on your committee, you're in whatever it is that you're doing, you're, oh, well, that's great. I'm going to go along with that. But if your constituents and your voters and your family members don't want that and it's irrelevant to them, then what sense does it make that we're passing those laws?
I crossed Beth up and I said it was going to be about a 30 to 45 second answer. So
sorry.
No,
Okay.
Go ahead.
People ask me, well, if you could do anything, this is maybe a different way of answering it, but people say, if you could do anything going into Congress, what would you do? And to me, I would want to end the tragedy of abortion. I would want to save the lives of the unborn. Sorry for being emotional. But I believe that we need to defund Planned Parenthood. And it's not just Planned Parenthood, but it is all the other funds that America gives to the UN to kill the life of the unborn. 55 million, we talk about wanting to save lives. We didn't talk about Second Amendment. We talk about wanting to save lives. America has supported the murder of 55 million people. And I would like to advocate for them. I would be proud to see that end and to see Planned Parenthood defunded. There's many more things that I like to do, but that obviously is something that hits home probably to every one of us in this room.
So I know this might shock some of the folks out in the audience, but there is not one person up here at the dais who was born in Virginia running here. So I guess the question is, as a non-native Virginian going to Congress, what about Virginia do you absolutely love and would you protect? Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. And definitely our diversity. I tell you, this district I feel like is the yin and the yang of everything. We have the rural, we have the cities, we have the suburbs, we have everything. And that is, I believe that diversity within this district and within Virginia, it just makes it such a beautiful place. And so being from Brooklyn, everything looks the same. Big buildings, people walk really fast, everyone's in black suits because they're all working in the financial district. Everything looks the same. Everything is pretty much just single and just plain. But the diversity in Virginia is so beautiful, from the landscape to the people to our economy to the way people live and how they think. I can be in Chesapeake and the accents are different. I can be in Richmond, the accents are different. In Waverly, Surrey, everything is different. It's just the beauty of what we have here is something that we absolutely, we have to protect that, because being here since I was 8 years old, Virginia is my home. It's my home now. I was here since I was 8 and now I'm 37. It's my home now. And when I go back to New York, that doesn't feel like home to me. This is home for me.
Thank you.
I've been in Virginia since I was 16. I escaped from California. Thank you, God. My parents saw the writing on the wall and they got out quick. That was 1988. What I love about Virginia the most, I grew up in Williamsburg. I love the history. I love the heritage of Virginia. Nick, you said it earlier. I think we have a tremendous amount to be proud of. The leadership that came out of the state, and I believe that we still have great leaders in Virginia, and I believe that I would be honored to be one of those leaders of Virginia, to stand for the foundations that this country was built on, as Nick so eloquently said, started right here in the Commonwealth. And so that's when I think of Virginia, I think of the roots and the exalted position that Virginia is in the history of America.
So this will be my last question. It can either be a very, very simple one-word answer, or you can elaborate. Will you support the Republican nominee for Congress from the 4th Congressional District if that person is not you?
Yes, I will. I will vote for Shion.
Yes, absolutely. I will support. Absolutely.
All right, both. Thank you very much. We can give them applause here. They are going to have closing statements. You can certainly stand if you want. Ryan, why don't we go with you to start?
Well, again, I just want to thank you, everyone here, for just being a part of this. It's really been a great interview. Really, you do great interviews, Jen. You really do. And Cheyenne, I know you're going to appreciate. Can I take this off?
Yeah, sure. That's fine.
I know you're going to appreciate having that opportunity. For me, Chesapeake is one of the key places in the 4th District, clearly. It's a Republican hub. So you guys have a clear choice to make on June 12th. I believe, as a conservative, as one who believes in limited government and fiscal responsibility in the Republican creed, I believe that I am the best candidate. I believe that I have the leadership experience, the leadership skills, the life experience, and the calling of God to serve you, the good people of the 4th District, and also to do what needs to be done in Washington. And so simply, I just want to ask for your support tonight and for your vote on June 12th. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you tonight, and God bless each one of you.
Still streaming.
Okay, I'll keep that on for you, so you got it on there. Thank you guys so much for your time. This has been so fun and so amazing. You did a great job, and I look forward to hanging out with you very, very soon. And so, I'm going to reiterate this over and over and over again, because it's something that we must realize. This district is not the same as what it used to be. It is not the same. We are clearly more Democratic than ever. And when it comes to November, we need to have a candidate that Donald McEachin cannot just look at and say, you're a racist, and dismiss him. That's a really big deal, people, because this is how he operates. When it comes to November, we have to have someone that can hold him accountable to the people that he was designed to serve, that he has not served. You've clearly heard it. Every time they've said, well, where is he? What's going on? Every time I'm traveling, he doesn't show up to anything. And why is that? November, I'm telling you guys, we are going to win this election. We are going to win 2018. We are simply going to win that. And this is the time to give this party a chance to actually do that. If this was redistricted, if this was like 2-3 years ago, that would be a better candidate. But we're in a very different day. And we have to open our eyes to seeing that. This November, we must hold McEachin accountable. We must hold our district accountable. We have been speaking for so long. Why has no one heard us? This November, we are going to win this, everyone. We are going to win this. Because if we don't, we're going to be in this state for a very long time. And we cannot have that. Thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you.